Coming up on Network Africa, a 36-year-old man appears in UK court over the stabbing of 14-year-old British Nigerian Daniel Anjorin. Tourists evacuated in Kenya's Masai Mara National Reserve as dozens of residents get flooded. Plus, peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo begins, limiting the implementation of the mandate to the North Kivu and Ituri province. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. The man believed to be responsible for the murder of 14-year-old Daniel Anjorin, a British Nigerian student in northeast London, on Tuesday has been identified as Marcus Aduini Monzo. Mr. Monzo has appeared at the Westminster Magistrate Court over the attack in Hainault and is charged with 2 counts of attempted murder, 2 counts of causing grievous bodily harm, aggravated burglary, and possession of a bladed article. British Nigerian Daniel Anjorin was killed as he walked to school on Tuesday when a sword-wielding man launched a stabbing rampage. He suffered fatal stab wounds and 4 other people, including 2 police officers, were also injured. Our correspondent in London, Juliana Olayinka, was at the Westminster Magistrate Court earlier.
Just a couple of hours ago, a 36-year-old man who has been named by the police as Marcus Monzo appeared here at Westminster Magistrates Court, charged with the murder of 14-year-old British Nigerian schoolboy Daniel Anjorin, who was killed on his way to school on Tuesday morning. Now, what we do know is that the 36-year-old lived in the London borough of Newham, which is just a stone's throw away from where the incident happened, and he is a dual national Spanish-Brazilian. He spoke very briefly during his appearance today and only spoke to confirm his name. Now, the police have been very forthcoming in terms of the details of what happened on Tuesday morning in Greater London, but we did get some further details of the tragic incident. It's alleged that Monzo crashed a van into a fence in Lang Close just before 7 a.m. on Tuesday, hitting a member of the public. The court was further told that he then got out of the van and said he would kill that man and slashed him to the neck. Within 15 minutes, Monzo broke into a property where a couple were asleep with their 4-year-old child. The gentleman in the house received severe slashes to his neck and to his body. It is then thought that Monzo tracked down Anjorin, who was on his way to school, slashing him and then stabbing him fatally while he was on the ground. Well, as to be expected, this tragic incident has absolutely shocked the Nigerian community, who are all too familiar with the tragedy of knife crime, not just in the British capital, but across communities in England and in Wales. Chief Magistrate Paul Godspring remanded Monzo in custody to appear at the Old Bailey next Tuesday if a court date is not available this week. Juliana Olayinka, reporting for Channels Television News at Westminster Magistrates Court.
Well, Daniel's demise has profoundly been felt here in Nigeria. The chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Mrs. Abike Dabiri Erewa, has described the incident leading to his death as very unfortunate, sad, and gruesome. She condoled with Daniel's family and remains optimistic that drastic measures will be used to make sure that the culprit is punished accordingly. Meanwhile, more than £20,000 has been raised for Daniel's family. It was launched by Kwasi Asare, a friend of Daniel's brother. The page, launched on Wednesday night, has raised more than £20,000 by 10:30 a.m. local time today. To Kenya now, where at least 179 people, including 15 children, have been killed in the devastating flooding triggered by heavy rains. The new death toll was announced on Wednesday by the government spokesperson. The heavy rains and flooding have displaced over 195,000 people, prompting the government to accommodate flood survivors in schools or to establish displacement camps. Meanwhile, scores of tourists have also been evacuated by helicopter in the Masai Mara National Reserve after more than a dozen hotels, lodges and camps were flooded. Even as the heavy rains continue to batter the country, more than 14 camps were submerged early after the Talek River within the park broke its banks. Kenya's Red Cross says they successfully evacuated over 90 people. Well, let's get more on this. Joining us now is the VOA's Nairobi Bureau Chief, Mariama Diallo. Hello, Mariama. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Layo, for having me today.
Well, it appears the rains are not letting up anytime soon, isn't it? What are authorities saying? And, how long more are the Kenyan people to endure?
Well, President Ruto today met in a cabinet meeting for the second time this week, and basically to try to find more ways to mitigate the effects that these floods in the past few weeks have created. Basically, they reported that more food items and non-food items have been given to people that are affected. They also say that early on Tuesday, I think, as a recommendation from the Kenya Meteorological, I always have trouble saying that word, I apologize. Basically, from advice from them, they had asked people to evacuate certain areas, and they said it looks like some people are listening, most people are listening, trying to leave some of those areas because we are, as you said, they're not letting, it's not stopping. Just literally a few minutes ago, I'm in the office. I wish our live view was actually working so I can be outside showing you the floods. We had a little bit of sun this morning, but that did not last too long. It started raining, and when it rains, I look over the window. Even our streets just right next to our offices are flooded. Traffic is bad. So, and it's not just in this area, it's all over the country.
And dramatic scenes, I imagine, with the helicopters having to rescue tourists at the Masai Mara National Reserve. What more can you tell us, about the evacuations?
Well, actually, according to the Ministry of Interior, they talked about some of the few things that have been doing, some of the interventions, obviously, from the government and other agencies. And I'm just going to give you a few examples from a statement that just came out. It talks about that emergency response teams from Narok County, alongside the county security teams and Red Cross, successfully evacuated. They talk about 90 individuals in coordinated efforts by ground and aerial units. They talk about that they did that in the Masai Mara area. You mentioned earlier, some tourists being basically evacuated. It says that no fatalities are reported. There's also 150 KDF forces. KDF is the Kenya Defense Forces that are actively in the Mai Mahiu area in Nakuru County, where we know earlier 52 people had perished after that dam broke. And they said that until today, some people have been retrieved, but 51 people are still missing. And I'm going to just give you a few more of the evacuation intervention that's happening. They talk about 400 national youth services. This is all from the Ministry of Interior, have also been deployed basically to reinforce what they call the ongoing basically search and rescue operations in both the place where the dam recently broke and also in the Talek area. One more thing, it talks about a nationwide assessment on all dams that has been conducted. And this is something, if you don't know, that even us in Kenya, we didn't realize how many dams there are. Apparently, there are 192 of them, according to the government, that are identified as being high risk.
Wow, there's a lot of dams there in Kenya, but with more and more rains expected, and schools have been turned into emergency shelters. Is the resumption date, of May the 6th still feasible for the students to go back to school?
Well, I asked actually a few parents just a little while ago what their assessment is, what they think. I'm a parent as well, but basically from the last time, I think my daughter's school was open, but from some of the people who I asked whose schools were closed, I asked them, what do they think? What assessment do they make of the recent rains this week? And they're calling for more rain this weekend. And a lot of them, at least one of them, tells me that he doesn't think that the schools will reopen. And I'm just going to reiterate that the number of Kenyans, the casualties, you've talked about it, it has gone up to 188. The ministry talked about an additional 125 people who have been reported injured. 90 people are currently missing, and an approximate number of 165,000 people have been displaced, and basically 33,000, another one, household that are affected, and nearly 2,000 schools also affected. So usually, I think last time, from what I gather, the parents were told maybe the night before that the schools will be closed. They are wondering if this time around they will get a notice a little bit earlier, maybe over the weekend when another assessment is made after some of the rain falls. But at this point, we don't know. But I think a lot of the people definitely think that the schools might be delayed. But maybe, just God knows, maybe, the rain will hold. But at this point, there are definitely lots of areas that are affected.
Indeed, Mariama, we do hope for some respite to all that's happening in Kenya. But thank you so much, the VOA's Nairobi Bureau Chief, Mariama Diallo.
Thank you, Layo, for having me.
We're in West Africa now. Locals and aid groups in Mali are warning that a humanitarian crisis is worsening in the northeastern region, where armed groups linked to Islamic State have besieged major towns, leaving residents, including some 80,000 children, vulnerable to malnutrition. For instance, the town of Menaka has been under siege for about 4 months, driving up the prices of food. And residents say essential goods like medication are increasingly difficult to find. According to the deputy mayor of the town, children are threatened with starvation. Mali, along with its neighbors, Burkina Faso and Niger, have for over a decade battled insurgency. Now, following military coups in all three countries in recent years, the ruling juntas have expelled French forces and turned to Russia's mercenary units for security assistance. Welcome back to the program. In commemoration of Workers' Day, hundreds of African National Congress supporters and their members marched on May Day in solidarity with Palestine, and this was led by South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa. Well, on Wednesday, pro-Palestine activists marched in Cape Town, waving Palestinian flags and holding banners, then converged at the Athlete Stadium, where the event continued. According to the president of the Congress of South African Trade Unions, Zingiswa Losi, the march is also to remember workers in Gaza.
We are here to make a reflection on Workers' Day. What are the benefits that workers in South Africa have attained since the dawn of democracy? And we're here to remember that workers in Palestine, in Gaza, are being murdered by the Israeli government. And therefore, whilst we celebrate our freedom, the rest of the world, particularly the Palestinian workers, are not free. We are here to pledge our support even further, to say to the workers of Palestine, we are with them, we remember them, we understand South African workers, we're in the same plight that they are in.
The same thing that is happening in Palestine is also the same thing that is happening here in South Africa, indirectly. I mean, like, people are out of job, they are not working, and then there's poverty, unemployment, and all of kind of things. So if the president can just fix his country first, then I think the other countries will be able to listen to him.
It was Madiba who said, our freedom will never be complete until the freedom of the Palestinians is achieved. We also want the people of Western Sahara to win their own self-determination. We want to continue supporting all those around the world.
Where's the boy come?
The U.S. military plans to return to Chad within a month for talks about revising an agreement that allows it to keep its troops based there. Now, this is according to U.S. Marine Corps General Michael Langley, commander of U.S. Africa Command. He made the comments in Ghana at the second annual African Maritime Forces Summit. He says the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Chad was expected to be temporary, and Chad had communicated to Washington that it wanted to continue the security partnership after the presidential election. The polls are expected to hold Monday next week, the 6th of May. Back here in Nigeria, the founder of Afe Babalola University, Chief Afe Babalola, has kicked against balkanization of Nigeria, saying the high number of tribes and languages are not responsible for the challenge of underdevelopment in the country. According to the legal icon, the country can become one of the leading civilized countries in the world if the government takes advantage of its population and manpower. Well, he made this remark during the first Africa-Asia Intercontinental Universities Conference hosted by the university.
It's the first Africa-Asia Intercontinental Universities Conference in collaboration with the Center for China-Africa Discourse Studies. The occasion draws the state governor, Mr. Biodo Yebaji, Yan Yuking, Consul General of the People's Republic of China in Nigeria, the Acting Secretary, National University Commission, Dr. Chris Bayaki, among others. Taking to the podium, the governor of Ekiti State commends Afe Babalola University for making the state and country proud by championing this cause.
Today's event is yet another eloquent testimony to the commitment of the university to be a leading African university with global appeal. I'm particularly excited that this conference is in a way in the furtherance of the promotion of global South scholarship intellectual interaction and another step at promoting Afro-Asiatic understanding. In particular, it is a positive indication of a growing Sino-Nigeria cooperation at many fronts of trade, diplomacy, culture, science, and education.
Different issues and questions affecting Nigeria's education system were also raised by some stakeholders and students, while the Consul General of the People's Republic of China in Nigeria said China is ready to partner with ABWAD for more development.
China and Nigeria are important strategic partners. I look forward to deepening the friendship and future understanding between our two countries through cooperation in education, science and technology, and employment involvement, and thus creating an example of cooperation in other areas.
The legal luminary, Are Afe Babalola, in his keynote address, said ABWAD is not only providing quality education, but also skills and a functional education system in the country.
For those who want to balkanize Nigeria,
thinking that it should be, thinking that they belong to different tribes and religions. Please, this is an opportunity for you to learn from China, and a new dawn for Nigeria. To learn from China. Bury all this tribalism, very religious discrimination. Invest in industry and science. Got the assurance of the Chinese that they will support us.
This conference, according to the university authorities, marks the new beginning in the relationship between China and ABUAD, as Nigeria can leverage on its diversity to accelerate development just as China has done.
Demining action and removing the risk of unexploded weapons is already a serious problem in Sudan, where more than a year of fighting between rival militaries have left millions on the verge of famine, including in major built-up areas where people have little idea about the danger. Now, Mohammed Sadiq Rashid, the chief of UN Mine Action Program in Sudan, says this is a big risk and change for the civilians because the people have never experienced this kind of war in the history of their country.
Extremely intense. The figure for the amount of rubble in Gaza is 37 million tons. To put that in context, that's more rubble than in Ukraine. In Ukraine, the front is 600 miles. Gaza is 25 miles long. It's also 87% urbanized, so it's very densely packed construction. We also estimate as part of that 37 million tons of rubble, there'll be 800,000 tons of asbestos.
Well, at a town at the heart of the mining coltan, a key ingredient in making mobile phones, has been seized in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo by rebel forces. According to the M23 rebels, Rubaya fell into the hands of their fighters on Tuesday following heavy clashes with government troops. Now, the government is yet to comment on this, but a civil society activist confirmed that M23 had captured the strategic town. It happened on the day President of France, Emmanuel Macron, called on neighboring Rwanda to halt its support for the M23 rebel group. Mr. Macron made his comments after holding talks with DR Congo's President Félix Tshisekedi in Paris. Now, the peacekeeping mission in the DRC, MONUSCO, has withdrawn its forces from South Kivu, and it is limiting the implementation of its mandate to the provinces of North Kivu and Ituri. UN spokesperson Stephen Dujarric says this is in accordance with UN Security Council Resolution 2717 adopted last December. Now, the first UN peacekeepers were deployed to South Kivu back in 2003, and since then, more than 100,000 blue helmets have served in the province.
Peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has ended its operations in South Kivu province in accordance with Resolution 2717, which was adopted in December. Last December, the mission withdrew its force from South Kivu by the end of April, and starting today is limiting the implementation of its mandate to the provinces of North Kivu and Ituri. The head of peacekeeping mission, Bintu Keita, underlined that the responsibility for the security and physical protection of civilians now lies with the Congolese defense and security forces. According to the disengagement plan, the government is strengthening up its presence where the mission is leaving. The first UN peacekeepers were deployed to South Kivu in 2003. Since then, more than 100,000 peacekeepers have served in the province at different times. UN agencies, funds, and programs are not leaving South Kivu. They will continue to provide support in line with their respective humanitarian and development mandates.
But still with Congo, which is struggling to contain its biggest monkeypox outbreak, as scientists say a new form of the disease detected in a mining town might spread more easily among people. Since January, the country has reported more than 4,500 suspected cases and nearly 300 deaths, and numbers that have roughly tripled from the same period last year, and that's according to the World Health Organization. Congo recently declared the outbreak across the country a health emergency. Analysis of patients hospitalized between October and January in the eastern part of the country suggests that recent genetic mutations in the monkeypox are the result of its continued transmission in humans. And finally, on the program, looted artifacts from the Asante Kingdom are finally on display in Ghana 150 years after British colonizers took them. The 32 items are placed at the Mainshare Palace Museum in Kumasi, as the capital of Asante region. At this stage, the items have only been loaned to Ghana for 3 years. However, this loan could be extended. The agreement is between two British museums, the Victoria and Albert Museum and British Museum, and the Asante King, and not the Ghanaian government. And that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.